Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pennsylvania Earth Sciences Association and PISA Presents. Now, while our fossil friends, the Belemnites, may not have been the direct inspiration for the legendary Kraken, that honor actually goes to their relative, the giant squid, they still do have a bit in common. They're both cephalopods and they both have a lot of legends surrounding them. So let's look into some of the legends and the actual life of these wonderful fossils with belemnites and their world. Now, first of all, if you've ever seen fossils like these, you're looking at the remains of a belemnite. Now, what is a belemnite actually? So they are cephalopods. They are members of the class Cephalopoda, which includes not only nautiluses, but also the aforementioned squids and other organisms as well, of course. Now, here are some close-ups of some of those famous fossils as well. So those are basically the hind parts of the organism. They're called familiarly rostrums or guards, amongst other names. Now, the word belemnite comes from the Greek belemnon, which translates to dart, or some sources it can also mean javelin, perhaps. Now, here is a look at some of the particular body parts of a belemnite. Now, you look at the end. Now, you can kind of see the actual rostrum is pointing the way here. So, towards the end in the blue is the rostrum itself. Now, down the end, it kind of fits into the end of the rostrum, is the base of the actual shell of the organism, which is called the phragmacone. And then the pro-ostracum is another part of the shell itself, which is right in there. And then also, too, there is a part of the body called the protoconch. Now, that is something that cephalopods have in common. When they're very, very young and they're shelled versions, so basically what happens is they have very, very small kind of proto-shells that they start off as. And then as they get older, you can kind of see those lines are called laminae. So more or less as they get bigger, they more or less seal off. As they get larger, they just grow out sort of larger versions of their shell. Now, when did belemnites actually come about? That is something that is kind of up to debate. Some people will tell you it was about 350, 360 million years ago, but most likely it was a little bit later during the Mesozoic period, about 230 million years ago instead. And sadly, because all good things come to an end, including the belemnites, they did indeed go extinct about during the late Cretaceous boundary due to a combination of predation from other cephalopod species and also to the effects of possibly ocean acidification due to the surrounding issues of that great extinction event at the time, about 65 million years ago. Now, fossil parts, okay, hard parts are one thing, but soft parts don't always fossilize very well. Right there, you can see it does happen sometimes, and here is a better look at some soft parts of a belemnite having fossilized, and also too, this gives you a good look at the proportions of the organism. So there you can see the rostrum and just how big it is in terms of compared to the rest of the organism, but still altogether, because those are the hard parts of the organism, by far and away, those are the most common remains that you will find of a belemnite. You just don't typically find the soft parts of something like this. Now, something very interesting to look into is actually vintage paleo art. Yes, it's not always accurate. Okay, fine. It's very, very rarely accurate, but still, it's just neat to look into and to see just how far the science has progressed. Now, this little illustration I just pulled up just to kind of show a point. Belemnites had 10 arms, each with 30 to 50 pairs of hooks. That was actually how they brought down their prey when they got hungry. Now, this here is another piece of vintage paleo art. It's from a historic textbook. Now, this particular illustration shows a belemnite that was over 10 feet long. They had a very wide distribution. Now, despite this, they still lived in waters close to the shore, relatively close to the shore, and still they were of a wide variety of size. You're looking at species from about 1.2 inches or so to, like this particular fellow, over 10 foot long, 10.2 feet long actually. Now, predator, yes, most likely. They would use those arms and the little suckers and what have you to bring down their prey, and that was what they ate. Some people argue that they used the rostrum on the end to dig in the sand and then bring up additional prey, but there's not really that much conclusive evidence for that. Now, bullet stones. There are some texts, mostly older ones, that refer to the rostrum as bullet stones for obvious reasons. They're, well, shaped like bullets. Now, they could have been used for counterbalance, most likely to weight down the animal as it went into slightly deeper waters basically towards the outer end of its range. Now, another interesting thing about these is that you can see when you look close at that specimen right there, they have growth rings. So not only can you get an idea of the age of the specimen, but also too the particular minerals that are often found in these specific fossils. They're very, very good indicators of actually giving ideas of paleoclimate and other things. Now, because belemnite fossils are actually very common fossils, they're very, very good to not only date beds in terms of getting chronology dating, because you can get radiometric dating from them, so you can get a very good exact dates of certain things because you have various radioisotopes often found in these fossils, but also too you can get certain ideas of certain things found in various climates and whatnot. There are all different certain forms of minerals and impurities that can be found in these fossils that geologists use to gain an idea of the environments that these animals were found in. Now, this fellow right here is Pliny the Elder. He didn't realize that belemnites were fossils. He actually thought that they were gemstones. But still, all the same, point being, he was trying. Now, he was trying to academically figure out what exactly belemnites were, which was, well, for his time, actually quite an effort. Now, for quite a while, people were trying to figure out what belemnites were. There was an idea, well, were they tapers for fairy candles, which was a serious idea, and I'm not knocking people that thought that, but that was indeed an idea. Folks thought that they were the tapers of candles for various supernatural beings, was one of the ideas. Or another idea was that the Greek god Zeus, he was playing darts with lightning bolts, and these belemnites then fell to earth, and they were the remains of these lightning bolt darts that he had been playing with. Or also, too, a somewhat similar idea, except with the Egyptian god Min. And they also then, with him, they had another function in terms of fertility ritual as well. Now, my favorite one, though, has to deal with a individual that was called Donar. So basically, that is a Germanic pronunciation, Old Germanic word phrase for a particular deity that you may or may not recognize this action figure of right here. So that is the pronunciation for Thor. So more or less, what they would do is so in this particular area right here, this is in the Bavarian Alps. So people would put belemnite fossils, hide them in the thatch in the roof, and according to legend, because these things had a connection throughout Europe, they were renowned with lightning, they were supposed to keep away basically the local version of Thor. He would look at these figures, get freaked out, be like, oh crap, and then just run away. And that was, at least that was the story. Now, so Of course, over time, people realized that it was indeed just a story. And in 1546, they realized that Belemnites were just fossils. And in 1823, they were classified as cephalopods themselves, with additional work resulting in July the 2nd of 1996, with a particular species of Belemnite being named as the State Fossil of Delaware. So lucky them. Now, thank you very much, one and all, for joining us this weekend, and have a very lovely rest of your day. Bye now.